Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. If anyone has a pecuniary interest, please disclose it at the appropriate time. Our YouTube link is showing at the top of the page there, and we welcome anybody who's watching tonight. We have no correspondence, no delegations, and we'll move on to new business. And I'll hand it over to Ryan to give the Parks and Rec Committee update for August 24th.
All right, thank you.
You want me to start again?
No, I believe we're good.
Okay.
But thank you, Councillor White. I'll provide a bit of an update here. I won't go through the entire report, but I'm certainly happy to provide high-level update on some of the key items and projects identified within the report. So introduction to Emily Joseph. Emily's with us on this meeting tonight, her first Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. Happy to have Emily on board. She's been with us since mid-July. She brings plenty of municipal recreation and programming experience. And we're, like I said, we're certainly happy to welcome Emily to the team. The arena, so the ice is in now. Rentals having started this week. We have a few rentals spread out throughout the evenings, as well as a Paul Burgess goalie camp throughout the week. Kudos to our Parks and Recreation operations staff for getting the ice up and going. Looks great. No major issues or concerns in terms of getting the ice online and in operation. The arena deficiencies through the arena renovation project. So we're about we're over 95% completed. So everything in terms of ice rentals, the washrooms, the change rooms, the showers, everything is active and good to go. So that's great news for us, starting the season off on the right foot. Myself and Emily continue to work through ice bookings with our key user groups. And the new arena score clock has been installed and is operational. Nice upgrade to
Right. The score clock. Is it the same setup to run it as the old one? Is there a new component?
Yes, all new components located inside the penalty box. There's instruction sheet within the box, but it's actually even more user friendly.
Oh, so it's easy. So we don't need a training session or minor hockey, or we'll need a training session on it?
I would say probably not, but staff are all well versed on it and more than willing to help any timekeepers, referees, coaches, as we get into the season. Happy to help out and work through that transition if need be. Parks in downtown, so Sunset Park holds our community garden, Libro Community Gardens. Successful growing season. For anyone who's been by, it's definitely a complete garden, plenty of items, plenty of food in there to munch on. So that's been a positive, definitely for that park. We recently installed a bench in coordination with our bench doter, Rick Babing. So that is installed in the park, which is a great addition. Township signs. We have done a bit of a revitalization and facelift to the township signs coming in on Nauvoo, both the north and south of Watford, updated in partnership with the Watford Warwick Horticulture Society. Simple improvements, but certainly noticeable. A great community project. The Watford Warwick ballparks, pea gravel added to the Watford playground surface, improving the surface. Tree trimming substantially completed at both diamonds. 3 sets of bleachers with the center aisle. They're scheduled to be installed this Friday, potentially tomorrow, weather permitting. They'll be installed on the cement pads that were completed a few weeks back. So I know everybody in the community and probably on this committee is eager to see that project come to fruition and completion. great upgrade, accessibility upgrades to the park. So we're looking forward to that, like I said, either tomorrow or Friday of this week, Thursday or Friday of this week. About, yeah.
Just two questions about the new ball diamond. One, I noticed that there is no permanent no smoking sign around that diamond, because there shouldn't be any smoking in that park, and there was a great deal at many of the events over the summer. And two, just wondering about the condition of the outfield of that diamond. I've had some complaints about the grass not being kept and really it being more weeds than grass and not very level. So I wasn't sure if there was plans to have a look at that.
All right, thank you, Martina. Good questions. In terms of the no smoking, prior to Cornfest, we did have the bylaw officers from Lambton Public Health come out and take a look at the entire park. They gave us a passing grade in terms of having the necessary signage, just basically to dictate no smoking. But having said that, we'll certainly take a look, and if there's some other spots to add signs in and around that new ball diamond, we certainly will. The outfield, it's something that we can definitely look at and look to do some fall maintenance on it, and leading into the spring to look to improve that outfield surface, grass surface.
Yeah, I had some comments too from people about the warning track, because the warning track, they love the warning track, but the idea it's full of weeds and stuff is, I don't know how we control the weeds, and even around the fencing and so on, where all the weeds are growing along the edges everywhere around. It's nice if we can control those, that that's what they're looking at for that. And the second item somebody was asking me about with the old ballpark, Centennial Park, we had all those beautiful trees growing up over the years that if in time or soon that we could put in start putting up some maple trees or whatever, that within 10, 15 years we've got that great shade that we've had in the past. So somebody mentioned that too.
Yeah, thank you, John. And those are great points. And we'll certainly look at the grass trimming and the weeds within the new ballpark. In terms of the trees, we did meet this week with a local nursery that's doing some work as part of their Arbor Day committee in adding some trees around the new building, the new complex. We also talked to him about adding 6 to 8 maple trees behind the school and what would be the first base line of the ball diamond. Yeah, and that's anticipated to be planted this fall.
Ryan, the only comment I had was I got a complaint once that the light, I think I called you, the lights were left on. Is there a way to have a timer on that?
And that's a great question. I'm not certain on that, on the timers. I know we do put it out to our ball groups to help us in turning the lights off in the evenings. So I think we'll need to work on sort of that practice and that process, get some checks and balances in place to ensure that doesn't happen. But I can certainly look into a timer, whether or not we can put a safeguard in there that no matter what, every evening.
Like at midnight?
Yeah, exactly.
They shut down, like.
Yeah, I would think.
It's not good for our energy conservation to have them on all night or the neighbors.
No, absolutely. The neighbors. We certainly want to, like I said, get some checks and balances on that. But without saying for certain, I do believe that there probably is a way to put a timer on that, but something that we can look into. All right. We did as well order a park bench that will be installed around the perimeter of the Warwick playground as well.
Thank you.
The LCC project, so it continues to move along. There's been a lot of work happening, a lot of moving pieces as we get sort of towards the home stretch of the project. Concrete and asphalt, the first and second layers of asphalt in the area that they were able to get to right now, excluding the Centennial Hall space, was completed today. So that's nice. The concrete sidewalks and curbing has been completed. It's just nice to see that done, and also helps eliminate some of the dust and dirt from entering the arena. So staff is happy to see that. It's a big improvement. There's a lot happening in the next coming weeks, as I mentioned in the report. We are on track for occupancy October 7th, tentative opening date. We're still working through that, but we're looking at probably October 11th. And the YMCA, they have begun their marketing and membership campaign. So we'll start to see some of their branding and messaging pop up throughout the community here in the coming days and weeks.
You said the basketball nets are already up in the gym?
Yes, so the basketball nets have been installed.
How many would there be?
So there's in total 6 basketball nets. So 1 large.
Yeah. Court and 2 cross courts.
Right. Flooring for the gymnasium is set to go down next week, August 29th start date. So that's another big milestone for this project as well. So I know the trades are working hard to prepare for that. Finishing up the painting, the HVAC work. 2 to 3 weeks to install the gymnasium floor. A lot to do in the coming months, but it's noticeable, and it's coming along nicely. The fundraising campaign cabinet continues to work tirelessly. We're at approximately 1.6 million of the 2 million goal to date. The arena workshop project, mobilization first week of September. We've had our initial meeting with contractors, anticipated to be completed before the end of 2022. Waste management donated a bench that staff installed along the waste management trail back in behind the dog park. Thank you to committee member John for taking a ride on our gator machine along the trail. We did not walk it or bike it, but we did take the gator. But thank you, John, for giving me that tour, providing me some insight on the trail, the history, and helping in and picking a location. So that bench and bike rack have been installed. Parks and Recreation Facilities Assistant. So that has been fulfilled. As I mentioned earlier, we have Emily with us tonight. Recruitment for fall, winter part-time arena staff. So that has closed, and we're expected to hire in the coming week or 2 weeks, 2 to 4 part-time staff.
Did you get enough applicants? Like, it's hard to find people. Did you get enough applicants for the jobs?
Yes, I believe so. For the Parks and Rec Facilities Assistant, we had almost 30 applicants. And with our part-time recruitment, we had about 13 or 14, I believe. Yeah. Summer students, so they're nearing the completion of their summer term.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Is there any questions from anyone on that part?
I have one question, Todd.
Mhm.
We've had a lot of concern over the last 3 years now, probably, guys, over the arena booth. The problems we've had, is it ready to go?
Yep, so I did have email correspondence with our concession operators today. The same crew that run the ballpark concession does in turn, following baseball season, come into the arena. There are a couple improvements that they, along with us, would like to see inside the arena concession. But by the time they're ready to leave the ballpark and enter into the arena, everything should be ready to go.
Well, that's good news, because the last couple of years have been kind of tough getting it rolling. Thank you very much.
And I'll continue to work closely with our concession operators to ensure their needs are met.
I have one question too, Ryan, if nobody else does. I had one of the minor hockey Association approached and said that their registrations are up by about 45 kids this year. And they had a concern about finding ice time, given that we've done rentals or started some agreements with some other communities, which I understand we do and have done in the past. I'm just wondering if you've been able to, if you're working on that with them to find them time or additional time, I guess it is.
Yes, that's correct. They have had an increase in membership, which is great. It's ultimately what we want to see. And we have worked closely with them this week. We had to do some juggling, a little bit of scheduling, maneuvering to accommodate additional requests that the organization, it's Almaha, that required. But I believe that all the two parties involved now have ice that meets the needs for both.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Martina, you had a question?
Yeah, I was actually just in follow-up to talking about the canteen. I'm just kind of wondering why we don't let them be open during things like Cornfest. I mean, I know we have community groups selling food, but I feel like there could be some sort of agreement that they don't sell what the community groups are offering. I just feel like we've worked really hard to get people in that position who want to be there. And when we aren't offering them opportunities at our large events, it just doesn't feel like a really supportive environment to me. So I also know, I mean, lots of people mentioned during, for example, Cornfest weekend that yes, they were happy with the food was there and that the community groups were doing a great job, but there were other items that they might have liked to purchase during that time that the booth would be able to offer. So I'm just wondering if there could be some more conversations about what we can offer to support them, because as far as I'm concerned, they're also a local business that we need to support in order, you know, to keep that service at both locations.
Sure. Thank you, Martina. And that's a great point. And to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't know that they weren't allowed to be open for Cornfest. That's the first that I've heard of that. I just assumed that as concession operators, they'd be open to operate regardless of the event or what have you that's taking place in the park. But these are conversations that we can certainly have. And I think the next step through conversation would be to actually put together formal agreements that would identify these types of items that both the event organizers are made aware prior to events that we do have concession operators and they are permitted to be open and on site. They are a partnership to the township. They provide an important service to our user groups. So I agree with you. We need to sort of nurture that relationship and encourage them and provide them opportunities to thrive within that environment. It's a great service to us, and I think it's one that there aren't a lot of opportunities. There aren't a lot of other groups looking to take on that sort of operation. So the one that we have, I agree, we need to ensure that it's working for them. So that's something that myself, Parks and Recreation, can look at over the fall and into the new year and develop and establish a formal agreement with our concession operators, something that will ultimately, I think, through this committee, make its way back up to council for consideration and recommendations.
That agreement, Martina, has been there for a long time with the Cornfest committee. Basically, there wasn't much except for French fries that the Cornfest committee didn't sell. So we'd have to go, the Cornfest committee would have to be involved in the conversation. I can't speak for the Cornfest committee because I'm not on it, but I know it's been there a long time.
And just further to that point too, like these conversations would certainly involve event organizers, past and present too.
Okay, any other questions? I can't see everybody, so. Any other business?
I just if I could, Councillor
Yeah.
White, just a couple more sort of housekeeping items as well. Just to touch base on our summer programming that has just come to an end. Our youth baseball programming ends this week. Our summer arts workshops in partnership with the Arts Council, very successful, well attended, over 200 registrants, successful in both Watford and in Warwick. So we expanded the program out to Warwick throughout the township, very well received. Myself and Emily currently working on some fall and winter programming opportunities as well, which we'll report back to the committee on what exactly those programs look like. And then also, I just want to mention one community event that we have scheduled for next week, August 31st, in partnership with Lambton Public Health. We do have a tobacco and vape-free outdoor movie night scheduled, Centennial Park, so outside the Watford Arena, back in the back, where we've got some games and activities lined up between 7 and dusk, and then ultimately at dusk, the outdoor movie and canto. Free to the public, free popcorn for everybody. We encourage the community to come out and get outdoors and enjoy an outdoor movie, sort of end the summer.
Great. Excellent. If there's no other business, I'll ask for someone to call for adjournment.
Todd, I have a few questions, actually.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I got him off a list. That's what happens when we skip a meeting. So
Yeah, the camera's not moving, Heather, either. So it just says a viewer
oh, because we're
on Wayne. So
oh, there we go.
there.
Now you can see the back of my head.
no,
Okay.
it wasn't moving at all in most of the meeting from the beginning. So
Okay, so first question. For Cornfest, who are there municipal staff on duty, or who's in charge of like upkeep of the bathrooms over the weekend? Or I'm just wondering if that's something to be considered. They got quite messy because it was a great crowd, which is awesome. But my bigger concern was because it was so hot, the bathroom floors were soaking wet from splash pad use and like very, very slippery.
Right, thank you, Martina. Yeah, township staff are scheduled in each morning of the event where they do a full clean of the park, the garbages, washrooms, stock the washrooms again. We do have a relationship with Cornfest organizers who throughout the day will empty garbages, park garbages. We provide them with the means to do that, the supplies to do that, and the committee's great. More than willing to jump in and do that type of work throughout the event. If we think it's something where we need additional staff throughout the day to come in and do another overview of the washrooms, that's something that during event debriefs, which I'm sure Cornfest does, township staff happy to be part of those event debriefs as well. That's an item that can be discussed there and remedied for future events.
Okay, thanks. And like I said, I was really just mostly concerned about safety because there were so many kids running in and out from the splash pad to the bathroom. Okay, next question. Is there consideration for next year for summer program registration to also have an online option?
Yes, that would be wonderful. It's something that we've had some preliminary discussions about, something that we'd like to eventually get to. What that looks like and how we get there, we haven't fine-tuned that. But even as recently as about a week ago, Emily and I discussed it as well. There are some options that we think we might be able to do through our own website. A few different avenues we could go down. But nothing concrete as of yet, but it is definitely on our radar. It's modernization of services is something that we definitely want to dive into a little bit here as we move forward.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, next question. Well, I was just wondering what the process was in choosing the steering committee for the 150th celebration. Like, who chose that committee? I know there was a meeting to like make smaller committees, but how do we choose that steering committee?
That's a great question. I don't know the exact ins and outs of how that process unfolded. So I would simply be just providing my thoughts and ideas on it. But what I can do is get the facts and happy to report back to the committee on how that process unfolded.
Thank you. And again, I have obviously nothing against the people who are on that committee because they're a wonderful group of volunteers. I've just had some feedback from people in the community who, would like to be involved, but feel uneasy about it because it is often always the same volunteers. And so they feel like maybe they're not welcome. So certainly just some transparency on those committees and how they're chosen would be great.
All right, thank you. And yeah, I'll certainly look into that. We definitely encourage anyone within the community to be involved in these types of committees. We did hold an open house as well, inviting the community to come out and take a look at some of the opportunities to be involved in subcommittees as well. But again, I'll report back on the actual timing facts on such.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, 2 more, I promise. The next one is we recently had a public complaint about the shingles that fly off the library roof every time it gets windy. Is there any update on the status of that?
I can give you an update. We put it out and we've received 2 quotes to date. That number will be put in our capital budget for council during council budget deliberations as part of Parks and Recreation's capital budget for 2023. And pending the outcome of those deliberations, that roof at the library will be completed.
Thanks. And the last one is actually not really a question. It's more of a statement and an ask. I watched the council meeting where the delegation was there about the crosswalk. And at one point, the people who were on delegation said, why do they get a crosswalk? And nobody stopped them to correct the language and say, no, we have a rainbow crosswalk, not they. The point of the crosswalk was for inclusive community. And I just feel like if we can't change the language, then it's sort of lost. So I'm certainly not pointing any fingers. And I know that we're all learning, but I would just ask that if it comes up again, that somebody stop it and really just correct the language so it does feel inclusive and a community decision.
That's a
Martina, I was there and I was kind of blindsided, I guess, a little bit. I didn't expect the conversation to go the way it did. I will definitely personally try to correct any things like that. The problem is it comes out so quick, sometimes you don't have time to correct. When a person goes on and on, it's easier to make a stop to the proceedings, but I apologize for that.
It is, I will work to do that too, Martina, because I do agree that we have to have more inclusive language in all areas. So.
And certainly I'm not asking for an apology. I'm just asking for, education, and it's on all of us to work harder to, check those sorts of things. So I appreciate that from both of you.
Excellent. Anyone else with comments or other business? Not having anyone push any buttons. So could we ask for an adjournment then of the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All in favor? And any opposed? I don't see any.
Nobody's got their hand up, Todd.
All right, good. Thank you. And